Joe Roberts, who's running the program, wanted something empowering for girls, and I've been working with young women for almost 20 years now, teaching them how to find their voice and believe in themselves. I think that we're seeing record level of anxiety in young women, especially with the advent of social media, and I don't even think they are aware of how much damage it does long term. So yoga is really the only solution today to respond to the change in culture and the competitiveness that our world's created. So I started doing this work with young women maybe 15 years ago because I saw a real need to answer the really high levels of anxiety and stress among young girls. And I think that the advent of social media has really taken its toll. And so I really try to talk to girls about how these phone companies have engineers that are literally preying on their insecurities so that they're always glued to their phone and scrolling through and counting their likes. And it does some real damage that I think young women are completely unaware about. And so the only way to respond to today's culture is to teach these girls how to meditate and to teach them how to move their body and develop some confidence so that they're not so easily worried about whether someone likes them or how many likes they've gotten. And they're really responsive, so I know it works. Well, they told me this is a girls' power class, so power girls, so that was the theme, but I do work with a lot of boys, and boys have a very different need for it, and it still answers the same anxieties. A lot of times boys hold things inside, so they are not as expressive as girls, but you still see the tension, and unfortunately I think boys really start to come to yoga much later because they have the misconception that if they're inflexible, they shouldn't do yoga. But if you're inflexible, that's actually more of a reason for you to do yoga because all that stuck energy and that tension can really cause injuries in sports. It can cause long-term damage as far as like even being able to just I see boys that like their hamstrings are torn and it's just a simple solution of doing a little yoga. Yes, I'm from Wellesley. My kids went to Wellesley Middle School, Wellesley High School, so we've been here for a long time. I teach everywhere. I go into schools, I teach at Laughing Dog Yoga, I do private lessons, I teach tween groups, I teach a men's group, I teach athletes, I go on sports fields and work with athletes. I was an athlete myself, and so I actually was drawn to yoga because I spent my whole life competing and having to be the best and outrun everyone, and there was a lot of pressure to go fast and furious, and I never valued downtime. I didn't know what it was like to sit on a couch, so I realized like after my first class that I needed yoga more than most people, just to learn how to slow down, learn how to do less, and learn how to just be, and the meditation piece is something that I actually really wish I had learned at a very young age because that is hugely effective in sports. And I've trained lots of athletes how to visualize, it's a form of meditation, to be their best self in competition. I see great athletes that are, off the charts talented and yet get in their head a lot and just makes them average. So I think it's one of the unknown success stories of many athletes. I worked with one track star at Wellesley High many years ago who actually did a really vigorous yoga class. She did a meditation yoga class before a track meet, and after did a vigorous stretch class, yoga class after her track meet, and she was #1 for many years. But a lot of the track runners have very tight hamstrings and just don't do yoga because it's hard for them, and that was sort of her secret to success. I've seen such a transformation in young women that might, some that maybe suffer from depression or eating disorders, and to really help someone and fix a problem, you need to get to the root of it, and the root of it is the mind. And yoga is really one of the few forms of exercise that transforms the body and mind. And it's not just go to a one-time yoga class, but it's really making a commitment and practicing meditation daily.